Hi everyone, I'm here today with Jeannie from Cloud9, and she's going to talk to us today about the difference between bookkeeping and strategic bookkeeping. And there is a huge difference. Hi Jeannie.
Hey Karen, how are you?
Really, really good. I love the quote on your website, and I'm going to read it so I don't get it wrong. It says, bookkeeping is a cost, strategic bookkeeping is an investment. Can you tell us what you do and what the difference is between what you do and what general bookkeeping is?
Yes, absolutely. And to do that, if it's okay, I'm going to share a little image that kind of explains it even better than I can. Okay, so hopefully you can confirm you can see the colored circles.
Absolutely.
Great. So over here with the numbers that you can see, starting with numbers 101, and then we have this 5-step method. So bookkeeping on its own is numbers 101. So that is bookkeeping is up-to-date, accurate accounting records. It's globally known as pillar 1 for the success of any business. Now, that on its own is very much a cost. And I know that because I've got clients that we do numbers 101 for. And one of them even said the other day, oh, Jeannie, it's just such a cost. And I said, yes, it is. And I really want to show you how strategic bookkeeping is an investment. So strategic bookkeeping is just going beyond this numbers 101 to work in a holistic way. So for us, it's 5 steps. And this is the reason it's an investment is because when you get across your numbers knowledge, your numbers strategy, your numbers targets, and your numbers monitoring, the end result is massive gains in profit and cash. And in a nutshell, that is strategic bookkeeping. And then if you like, I can explain a little bit more about each step, but ultimately it's the journey that we take you on and the accountability as well to help you move the needle from where you are now to where you want to be in the future. And it's the same system I've been using for over a decade and getting the same kind of results.
Well, maybe, Jenny, you could take us through that in the example of a case study of a client that's maybe moved from bookkeeping to your service and how that has helped them create that step change.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so I've got so many case studies, but one that I've just finished gathering, so hot off the press. So a trade business, and to set the scene, so $4 million in turnover. They're a trade business that services primarily builders. So when we met, the main problem was that they were making no profit. In fact, they were going backwards, because a myth in business is that more sales equals more profit. Unfortunately, as soon as you have a staff member, it's not that easy. Okay. So in terms of this case study, so yeah, the main problem was zero profit. I mean, sure, there was other problems, but for me, that was the primary one. So in terms of how we use strategic bookkeeping in order to help them to actually go from zero profit to 85,000 a month in net profit, that's tracking $1 million for the year in 6 months, as incredible result.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of, even I'm like, wow, I'm still pinching myself. Is first of all, we did diagnose the problem. So we need to sit down, we need to dive into the numbers to begin to diagnose what those problems are. Okay, so that's a deep dive into the numbers, and realistically that really sits in, it's really the whole system, the deep dive, because we're jumping in and we're pulling them all apart. Now, once we've done that and we begin the journey to diagnose, that's where numbers knowledge starts, because we start to educate that business owner and their management team around what it all means. And in this case, we started to talk to them about job costing. And so the knowledge piece began around job costing, because that's what the diagnosis was telling us was the main pain. So this client started to get educated around that. And he says to this day, every time I spoke to Jeannie, she said, job costing, job costing, job costing, job costing. And he said, do you know what, Jeannie?
They can make or break your profit, can't it?
Yeah, and it did. And he said, do you know, Jeannie, a month in from you just repeating it over and over, I started to get it. Numbers knowledge is a journey. Numbers strategy is the real management accounting piece. So what we did, and my colleague Joe actually does most of this for me, while I primarily focus over on the blue stuff there, so she went in and she started to clean up that profit and loss with the income categories and the expense categories so that we could really start to read what we were looking at. So that's getting the numbers from accurate, which is numbers 101, to meaningful, which is numbers strategy. And once we've done that, the numbers targets is not a stab in the dark. So what we did is we grabbed the benchmarks, which are actually available on the ATO website, and we looked at what optimal profit looked like for a business in their industry with their turnover. And that helped us to set really meaningful targets. And our target was actually 85,000 net profit a month, and we hit exactly that. So that was setting the targets and really sitting down with the management team and going, right, what are we working for? We're all working for the same thing.
Now,
Then,
Jeannie, did they make more sales to reach that profit target?
No, they made less sales.
Wow. And were they using a billing system like Xero or MYOB or?
Yeah, so they had Xero. And the where they were going wrong is when you look at this model, actually, because while strategic bookkeeping's over here on the left, we do have that's the numbers mastery piece. The business mastery is in the blue, and the habits mastery is around the outside. And then we have a mindset. The whole model combined is what we call our Thriving Lifestyle Business Program. And they were struggling with habits, and they were struggling with business mastery, but everything comes from the numbers. So if we reverse engineered that, I've seen it and we get nowhere, but they were absolutely using Xero. But they were estimating jobs, but they weren't then comparing the profit on the job, especially because they were so big. They're doing so many jobs. They they weren't comparing the profit on the job to the estimate. So there was that piece of the puzzle happening as well.
And how long was that going for? How long were they?
A very long time. So they've been in business 17 years, and there was a point which they were doing quite well when the business was smaller. But when I picked them up, they were turning no profit for a long time, and just doing everything. So they thought what a lot of business owners think, and that is they thought that if they just made more sales, that was the answer. Mm-hmm. So I got them to say no to business. Right. Because they were doing jobs that were not profitable and they were losing money on them. So it was, and from a strategic bookkeeper's point of view, I could see that, look, the business owner had a gut feel that he probably should be not doing certain jobs. I could see in the numbers, because when we look at the numbers, when we dive in, there's no business that I ever pick up that has 5 pain points in the numbers. They have 1, 2, or 3. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's just, if you had more than 3, your business probably wouldn't be existing. And I've seen this for over a decade now in my business, in working with clients. And so we could tell that the pain was what we call above the line. So the gross profit is, I call it the line. And so the problem was in the cost of sales. We could establish that very, very quickly. It was just that we then had to keep going down that rabbit hole of cost of sales to understand more about it. It's like, let's say the doctor said your back you've got back pain, but you've got to find the source of that back pain and really find the therapy for it.
So what are the other 2 then? You said cost of sales. So what are the other couple that you see often?
So often, wages. So wages as a percent, which can be cost of sales. So let's say we talk about mainly it's cost of sales, and under the line, so it's either wages as cost of sales, products as cost of sales, and then the other one we see below the line, so in your operational cost, is rent as a percentage of turnover. So everything is worked out as a percentage of turnover, and that is very much sits in numbers strategy and numbers targets. Mm-hmm. And if your rent if you can't fix your rent as a percentage of turnover. So I once went into a play centre and they had a business coach doing all these things over here in the blue, right? So increasing their cafe prices, doing all this other stuff. Now, I walked in as a strategic bookkeeper, had a look at their numbers, and I was like, tick, 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 that looks okay. Oh, here it is. Rent as a percentage of turnover was so bad that there was nothing that they could do in that particular location to fix it. And they had already tried to get rent relief, etc. And I actually said to them, move or close and let me know when you've decided which one. So strategic bookkeeping is really black and white. Yeah, so rent is a percentage of turnover, and then it's more just cost blowouts. Like you might be reinvesting back into the business and spending money on advertising. We just need to make sure that you're getting a return on that investment. So advertising spend without tracking return, which you'd be very familiar with, or without having the funnel in place, running Google AdWords and not answering the phone.
Yeah, ouch.
Yeah. And so when we monitor the numbers, this is where the magic happens. We shine a light on those numbers, which is what we did with this client. And we were able to kind of keep confirming, okay, these all look okay. These look okay. But this still doesn't look okay. And when the client would say, but I've done this and I've done that, we say, well, it wasn't enough, because you can see your cost of sales, you're still losing money. And so doing that over and over, and we kept helping him to make changes. And in this case, just so you know, the changes is they nailed the pricing system that worked for them. They stopped doing a particular type of customer, which we felt, and 4 of us really felt they were losing money on. So we convinced the owner of that. Yep. They jumped into a bit of product innovation and started doing some extra things on jobs like rubbish removal, and the margins were really high. Right. Yes, where they were previously, and this is where the habits can come in, they were really reactive kind of hamsters on a wheel, busy going nowhere. Because we got them more structured and planned, they actually stopped allowing scope creep to happen. So rather than doing stuff for free, they stopped, they did the variation, they charged the customer. And then the last thing that they did is they said they became a data-driven organization. So when they did the estimate, then we actually caught up with them every single week to hold them accountable, to show us where that estimate translated into profit in the actual. So that's that numbers monitoring. Well, this was the quote on the job, but what happened to the job was their cost blowouts. And it was that recipe that went from losing money to what is tracking to be $1 million net profit for the year. And I tell you, when I first met them 7 months ago and I dived into their business and started to diagnose, I knew this business was on the precipice of this, because their front end was really good, but the back end, being the financial management and a few other things, was poor. But the back end is actually quite easy to fix. And so I just felt like, you know what, we've got a really good chance here to make magic happen, and we absolutely did. And you can see, you know, for them to pull $1 million out, the return on investment is incredible. That client pays us, you know, less than $2,000 a month. It's a fairly big job. And so the return on investment is just massive.
Yeah, it's huge. And so many of those things resonate with me as well, Jeannie, including like targeting your ideal client, because you're always going to make more money, I think, on your ideal client, and you're going to service them better. You're going to feel better about it. They're going to experience more joy working with you as well. And saying no to business that's not in your sweet spot as well. So, so many of those things resonate for me and so many of my clients as well. That's a great case study to take, I guess, bookkeeping from a cost to an investment, if you like. Love that. Yes. And so why did you set up Cloud9?
Yeah, so it was, I'd been in business all my life, and one of the big things I did was help grow an iconic Australian retailer from 10 to 100 million. And so I'd kind of touched all parts of the organisation, but then I was planning to have a child about 12 years ago, and I thought, what can I focus on in my field that will work around baby. And I thought, you know what, bookkeeping, everybody needs bookkeeping. So I had to really learn to be a small business bookkeeper, because I had been in finance in big business, and it was easier, to be honest. Big business, once you get departmentalized, I think is easier if you get things right, like if you avoid the 7 deadly sins of cash flow, which you can read on our website blog. But yeah, I decided to do that. The thing is, I couldn't keep my sticky little nose out of everyone's business. So when I would meet, a business owner, there's a lot of bookkeepers, they do the numbers, but they don't. And let's say the business is turning a loss, they just leave that to the business owner to do something about. And I couldn't do that, and I got so involved. And all that, I remember 10 years ago with the first business that I helped pull an extra $250,000 out in a year, and it took us 12 months. It was just incremental. It was that same 5-step numbers method that I use today. And it was educating him along the way. And it was, what am I looking at here? Let's categorize it properly. And then it was, well, what does optimal profit look like for you? And okay, let's sit down and monitor this and move the needle. It was the same old system, so that's how I got into it. And over the years, I've tossed up whether I continue to offer the strategic bookkeeping, being a busy mum. So what I did to make sure I could deliver it to clients is I broke it apart a bit. So that model that you see, which I'll just share with you here. So originally I used to kind of be all things to all people, because I have such a broad business background. So what I did is I separated the numbers mastery out so that I could get my team to deliver this. And then across in more of the business mastery and the habits, I personally deliver that, because it is more coaching, and you really need to be able to put your hand on your heart and have the experience and background and knowledge to deliver that. It's certainly, some people say coaching is just powerful questions, and I don't agree with that. I think coaching is education, action, and accountability. So that's what led me to I think start doing more of the strategic bookkeeping, and now I see the impact on clients. I just love it.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you so much for taking us through that. Certainly before I met Jeannie, I didn't know a strategic bookkeeper existed. I thought a bookkeeper was a bookkeeper, and I certainly have been corrected on that. And through meeting Jeannie, but also hearing the case study of today, turning a business around to be net profit of $1 million from losing money is incredibly powerful. So if people wanted to get in contact with you, Jeannie, and learn more about what you do and sticky beaking into people's businesses with purpose, and who wouldn't want you to be sticky beaking into their business if they could, if you could make such a big impact, how would they get in contact with you, Jeannie?
Yeah, so you can check out our socials and our website, so cloud9strategic.com.au, and that's the number 9 in there. I would direct you to the special offers page, because I've got something really cool in there, which is called 90 Minutes with Jeannie, and you can get some complimentary strategy with me, and then really just check us out, see what you think, see if you like us, see if you think we're a good fit, and then I can just talk to you about how we can help. And just be aware, sometimes it can feel like these things might be, oh, it's out of my league, I don't even want to ask how much it is. And I want to tell you that good financial advice with a strategic bookkeeper starts from as little as $300 a month. And we get incredible results in an hour. So I promise that, and if it sounds too good to be true, we also do no look-in contract, because I want you to work with us for as long as you love us. So we actually take the risk up front and invest our time, knowing that, our clients do love us and they stay with us. So we have things that range from about $300 a month up to more like $2,000 plus a month. And we can help. We have some clients engage in just the strategic side of things, and then we have clients who engage in all parts of what we do. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. No question is a silly question.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking us through that. The model makes perfect sense for, what we probably all feel about our businesses sometimes, particularly as entrepreneurs running a business for starting a business for the first time. Numbers don't come naturally to some of us, speaking from personal experience. They come more naturally to to some people than others. But certainly thank you for that and for sharing that amazing case study as well. Really, really appreciate your time. Thanks, Jeannie.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you.